I'm Lena Nakano from the Global Support Task Force of Human Holdings. Today, I would like to share with you the global deployment of our Japanese-style childcare conducted by Human Holdings. The purpose of the project is twofold.
First, develop a Japanese-style childcare. Second, to establish a local childcare worker qualification. First, develop a Japanese-style childcare. In Indonesia, prevalent view is nursery school equals to a daycare center. We don't just take in and take care of children being attentive to them. Rather, based on the education philosophy of Star Child, we believe in the infinite possibilities of children, cultivate their enthusiasm, and develop them further. Children are guided through the operation method that emphasizes their own initiatives or agency by introducing morning meetings and the shift system with day-to-day activities and original learning content and other pedagogy. They are led to use the body, mind, and brain to broadly acquire cognitive and non-cognitive capabilities when they are very young. Here, know-how and track record of affiliate company Human Star Child that play a major role. First, to realize a philosophy to raise a child who thinks hard and who is strong in both in mind and body. To encourage their independence, care workers don't provide excessive support. Our schools are deliberately made with many steps. We would like children to be aware of those steps, thus paying attention to their surroundings and develop capabilities to cope. Next, please take a look at the photos. Then you can see some slopes and steps at our school. Next, to encourage uniqueness in children. For instance, when a certain child is having difficulty using chopsticks, the worker would say to other children, "This child will be practicing during lunch using both a spoon and chopsticks. You also have something you are not good at, don't you?" Now, another example, if a child says pink is a color for girls, then the worker would try to make the child see there's no color for boys, no color for girls, there is no one color for that particular child, so you can use any color you like. And to raise children to be kind and caring. When a child is crying after a quarrel, a worker would first listen to the child, grasp the situation as what annoyed him or her, then ask the child what to do. Then they can think about their feelings, actions, the other child's feelings and actions, and solutions deeply. The second is about establishing the local childcare worker qualification overseas. Staff training in the directly operated preschool. We are planning to deploy it in Indonesia. Affluent families who take their children to a preschool use babysitters, and that culture is well entrenched. There isn't qualification for childcare workers. What's taken for granted in Japan isn't so in Indonesia. At Human Star Child, for instance, when children go out, they prepare their socks and shoes and then take turns at the entrance to put on their shoes, as you can see in the photo. Yet in Indonesia, workers help the children wear their shoes most of the time, as they tend to think it takes extra time if you let children wear shoes by themselves. They tend to think they are working on an extension of being babysitters. They are depriving children of the opportunity to feel, now I can do this, and the feel of joy. We explain such differences in thinking and call on the Indonesian workers to encourage children to take up the challenges positively. And it's not just about the difference in thinking. Actual skills, such as how to respond to infants, will be made into VOD and become part of our training. Building on that, we'll establish in-house qualification for workers, which comes with allowance. By so doing, we intend to encourage workers to improve their skills on their own accord. After establishing training, appraisal, internal qualification in directly operated schools, deploy them in Indonesia, and ultimately, we aim to establish a local child care worker qualification system. Next, about sanitation system. Human group is dealing with education and childcare whose various insight is utilized and implemented. Next, on our activities so far. Number one in the poster, curriculum development of basic education with educational elements. Number two says original teaching materials, which is a curriculum for commonization overseas called Wallet. In Japan's approved preschools, based on the Ministry of Health, Labor and Welfare MHLW's guidelines for preschool education, schools guidelines are established. In developing Japanese-style education, as human star-child preschools initiatives overseas are concerned, implementing what the guidelines say has major significance, as we believe. And that is what I mentioned at the outset. In our global development, our preschool is not like a simple day care center. In India as well, the basic operation is based on the guideline, just as Japan's human start-out preschools are. To operate them, one needs a plan. We believe that in our school's plan, if children's living environment and regular education activities at our school are cohesive and collaborative, children's growth will be further promoted.
In Japan, many preschool plans are based on Japanese seasonal and monthly events, reflecting the cultural background of the country. However, when it comes to overseas deployment, the climate and cultural background of the local country will have a significant impact on this point. Therefore, for the deployment of preschools in Indonesia, we have developed an original educational plan on the premise that it can be not only in Japan, but also in any other country using things around the children as the subject matter, learning the language, knowing about the things, comparing, devising, and expressing them in words. We have developed an original educational instructional plan that incorporates these activities. We divided the vocabulary of children's surroundings into 6 categories, namely people, nature, plants and animals, food, vehicles, and daily life, and set 8 themes for each category. We created an activity plan with 48 themes for 1 year based on 1 theme per week. Children in preschool spend their days on a regular schedule. However, they also spend time getting to know the vocabulary of the day through the day's activities. We have named our teaching plan Wallet and have introduced it to our Human Star Child preschool overseas. Each wallet is an acronym for an action that we should be aware of during our time with the vocabulary. W, writing, watching. A, acting. L, listening. E, expressing. T, thinking. We named with the hope that the content of the entire learning experience will function as a wallet to store abilities that will be useful to the children in the future. Through daily life at the preschool, children naturally learn a rich vocabulary and are able to use it in their daily lives and activities while training their brains as well as their minds. We are convinced that this will lead to Human Star Child's philosophy of believing in children's potential, drawing out their motivation, and developing it. We are currently conducting test use of the workbook that we are creating in Indonesia. Here is a printout that a 4-year-old actually did. What did you feel when you saw this? There were two things that I thought I should have told the child two things properly. The first is how to hold a pen. In Indonesia, they don't learn how to hold a pencil at school. When you hold a pencil in the right way, you don't use unnecessary force, which not only prevents your hand from getting tired, but also makes it easier to maintain the right posture. It also makes it easier to concentrate. It also makes it easier to move the pencil as you wish and write beautiful letters. Please look at the picture again, focusing on how the pencil is held by the child. On the left is a printout of a child who can hold a pen correctly, and the right is a printout of a child who cannot hold a pen correctly. Are they able to draw a straight line? Are they able to finish the challenge? Of course, I'm not saying that the way the child holds the pencil is the only factor, but if you compare the two, the difference is obvious. The goal is to create a system where the child care workers can feel this through guidance, and the children can also feel that it is easier to write when they hold it correctly, so that they can gradually approach the correct way to hold it. The second is how to use a 4-lined notebook. In Japan, we basically use 4-line notebooks to learn the alphabet. However, I had completely forgotten that different countries have different ways of learning. When the child care worker wrote the model example, they did not know how to use it and wrote in small letters between the two lines. So the children tried their best also to copy the model example in small letters. Through the verification process, we are gradually discovering various things that we did not realize when we were just making the materials. These will eventually be put into the form of an instructional manual so that we can provide highly effective instruction in the field without relying too much on the abilities of the child care workers. At the same time, we will make sure that each printout that the children study is easy to teach in the field. There are two key points regarding training for local personnel in number 3, local personnel training. With regards to childcare, we have raised the level of childcare skills of the local staff through childcare training at the Japan Human Star Child Care Center. In the future, we plan to use VOD and other media to enable repeated learning. In terms of education, we not only provided training on instructional plans and implementation, but also shared videos and photos of the actual program implementation with the Japanese side and shared feedback from the Japanese teaching material development team to the local side in an OJT format. As for the future outlook first, we aim to open 3 preschools in Indonesia within the next fiscal year, and we are also preparing to open 1 in a country in the Asian region other than Indonesia. In the long term, we aim to further expand the number of care centers and establish training programs and qualification systems for those involved in childcare. This concludes the presentation of Human Holdings Inc. Thank you very much for your kind attention.